Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And as you can tell, I still have old Leaky Pete here behind me because I still do not have my brand new motorcycle here. So I want you to sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage as I have, and I will tell you the tale of why I, number one, am disgusted with Harley Davidson right now, and why I do not have my 2023 back in the garage right now. So this is going to be a bit of a rant. Don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to be coming off the top of my head. There may be a little blue language. I don't know, but let's get into it. So folks, if you're new to the channel, I'll give you a quick little background on myself. I've been a rider of Harley Davidsons for roughly just a little over 20 years. I started in 2021, and over that time I've had I think about 8 Harleys. Some of them new, some of them used, some of them bought through a dealership, some of them bought privately, but I've had some. And this year, or actually I should say, I've never had a problem with Harley Davidson really up until this year. So this year I decided I was going to trade in my Fat Boy and I was going to buy a brand new 2023 Lowrider S. Now, the buying experience, first of all, I was dealing with a new dealership I hadn't dealt with before. And quite frankly, the buying experience sucked. That's all there is to it. I did a video on it a little while back if you want to look at that, and it'll take you through all the issues I had with buying the thing to begin with. When I finally did get the bike, I did like it. It's a nice bike. Looks good, sounds good, performed well, except it had a shifting issue. And I also did a couple of videos on that shifting issue not that long ago too. So the issue it had was that whenever I wanted to downshift, I actually had to lift up on the gear shift before I could downshift. And it was like that all the way through, downshifting all through the gears, right down to first. So up, down, up, down, up, down, all the way. So it kept getting worse. Once I got to around the mileage to take it in for its first service, I had about 1,450 kilometers on it. I thought, I'll get the dealership to come pick up this bike. They can do the first service. I'll tell them about the shifting and they can look at it. And honestly, I didn't know if it was going to be a big deal or not. I thought maybe it just needs a little adjustment for something, whatever. But they took it in. And about a week after it was gone, I got a call from the service manager saying, there's an issue with the transmission, but basically they didn't know what it was. They couldn't find an issue with it. So they called Harley Davidson, the company. They called the company service. The company service apparently didn't really know either. But what they told them was change out the detent shifter arm. Okay, so they ordered the part, waited for it to come in, it came in, they changed the part, didn't fix anything. So then I got another call from the service manager saying, okay, we did that, didn't work. Harley now wants us to change the shifter assembly. And it was at this point I said to the service manager at the dealership, I said, would it not make more sense to just maybe put in a new transmission, have them send you one of those? And he said, yes, it would be more advantageous, especially considering the time we've already put into this bike. But he was told by Harley that they would not allow that because, as they put it, it was not at that stage yet. So in other words, they didn't want to spend the friggin' money to get me back on the road, is what they wanted to do. They just wanted to keep changing parts, hoping to find the right thing. So they sent in the shifter assembly, and lo and behold, that did nothing either. So I got another phone call from the service manager on Monday of this week, and by this time the bike had already been sitting in the dealership for 3.5 weeks. And he says, okay, Harley has finally said yes to sending us a transmission. And I thought, okay, they can overnight that, get her in there. But no, they won't do that. So he said, we're probably looking at another week and a half to 2 weeks before we actually receive the transmission. So I was a little peeved, and I said, well, I'm gonna call Harley, just so you know, and I'm gonna tear a strip off them. And he said, no problem. So that's what I did. I called their warranty department. I started off fairly calm, but I let them know what my issue was. And I remained fairly calm up until the part that they told me that actually if it's an engine or a transmission that has to go out, you might not be seeing that for at least a month. That's when I more or less lost it, and there was definitely some F-bombs flying, and told them what I thought of their dealership, and or not dealership, sorry, of their actual company, and told them pretty specifically where I thought they could put their bike. But anyway, that's the way that ended. So had no timeline as to when this bike is going to be fixed. Now today, received a voicemail from Harley Davidson, the company, saying that, okay, the part has been shipped, should be there early next week. And I thought, okay, well, first of all, I thought they were sending a transmission, unless that's what they meant by part. But I got a hold of the dealership again, talked to the service manager, and he said, yeah, they're sending out a transmission cluster. And he said, hopefully that will fix it. Fingers crossed. And I thought, fingers crossed? Like, you guys still don't know what's going on. Harley is basically changing out the internal guts now of the transmission and hoping that there is something in there that fixed it. So they still have no idea what's going on, nor do they care if I ever get on that bike again. And that's what's really pissing me off. Like, to me, I don't run the company. I am not a businessman. But if it was me, I would have said, you got a transmission problem and you don't know what it is? Okay, we'll send you a new transmission to get that guy back on the road as soon as possible. Send us the old transmission and we'll go through it. If they can go through it and they can find what's wrong with it, they know how to fix it if this ever happens again. Or maybe there's something in that transmission that they could improve on, so this doesn't ever happen again. But they didn't care about that. Their whole thing was, no, don't send a transmission, that's too much money. Just nickel and dime this motherfucker until, and who cares whether he sits. That's what the problem is. The whole experience of Harley Davidson this year has been absolutely terrible. Terrible. They just, and I understand their company, but they don't care. I spent a little over $20,000, because that's what it is Canadian anyway, for a lowrider S. Plus parts and service on it after that. But I've got a $20-some thousand doorstop sitting there, and they really don't care. They've got their money. They don't care about whether the customer actually rides it or not. And they sit there and they show in their videos and their ads about, oh, the riding experience, and oh, the theories about all that, and the emotions. They don't ever show you the buying experience, and how they should show the emotions on that. Or when you want to get something fixed. They don't give a shit. They do not give a shit at all about whether you sit there or you ride. They don't care. They've got your money. So right now I'm paying financing basically on a doorstop, a $20-some thousand doorstop. That's what it is. And to give you a visual aid that might even be better, to give you an idea of where the company's actually sitting right now, this is Leaky Pete, and people who've watched this channel have seen this bike before and they're aware of it. It is a 1988 Sportster, 883. It's over 30 years old, and it has a few issues. It's 30 years old, but I can get on this bike right now, start it, and ride it around. So I have a 1988 Harley Davidson that operates fine, but a 2023, I can't put more than 1,400 kilometers on it or the transmission goes. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely fucking ridiculous that I'm still sitting here weeks now, about a month now, I've been sitting without a bike because they can't figure out what's wrong with it and they don't want to send the actual full component to fix it. They want to try and do it as cheap as possible. And right now, from the amount of time that the dealerships put in and the amount of parts they've changed, they could have probably saved money by saving it in the first place. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And Harley, shame on you. At this point, I will be completely honest with you. If I could get rid of that bike and not lose any money, I would. I would say, take the bike back, give me my money, and I will go buy something else. And it will not be a Harley Davidson. I'll tell you that. I've always liked the Triumph Rocket 3. I always thought that was a cool looking bike. Someday I'd like to try it out. But regardless, at this point, I'm disgusted with Harley Davidson, not impressed. Terrible customer service, which is not going to surprise a lot of people because I get a lot of comments on my channel saying that it's terrible to begin with. But long story short, I've got a brand new 2023 sitting in a dealership in pieces. They don't know how to fix it. Don't know if it's going to get fixed. If this doesn't fix it, I don't know what's next. All I did was I told them I will be looking at possible legal avenues to take because I want this bike back. And I should also point out that the dealerships here don't have rental bikes. They don't have loaner bikes that you can use. And they will not take a transmission out of a new bike to put into yours, which I tried asking for and they said no. Nor will they allow you to buy a transmission and have it shipped to them, which would be much quicker, because Harley will not reimburse you for that either. So yeah, long story short, I'm disgusted. I have no idea when the bike's going to get back. If everything works out perfectly, next week. But that's it. Harley Davidson, I have no use for you at this point. You've just disgusted me. And I, as a customer of 20 years, they don't care. They do not care. I cannot stress that enough. And I know I'm just rambling and ranting here, but they do not give a shit about you. You can sit and wait all you want. They could fix this quickly and they could have had me back on the road within 2 weeks, but they did not because they want to try and save money by fucking over the customer. So they don't care about your riding experience once you have the product, believe me. So I don't know if I'll ever, at this point, I don't ever intend to buy another Harley Davidson. I actually hate to say that because I've been critical of them, but I've also defended them. And, you know, being a fan and riding their bikes for 20 years, to say that I might never have anything to do with them again, I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I don't even know what to say. I'm just totally disgusted with the motor company, period. And I want to differentiate this as well, as this is mostly about Harley Davidson, the company, not so much the dealerships. A lot of the dealerships are still good. There are some that definitely suck, believe me, but they're not all bad. So this is more about the company. That dealership might treat you well, but if they have to rely on the company to fix your problem, good luck, because you're not going to get any help. Anyway, that's it. I don't want to keep you anymore. Don't want to keep rambling about this bullshit anymore. But I hope you guys are having a better summer so far with your motorbikes than I am. And stay safe out there. And maybe, you never know, in the future I might actually have a new motorcycle here to show off. But whatever. But until the next one, we will see you later.